All right, y'all ready to get messy? What I'm going to show y'all today how to cook at home is a roast beef po' boy, New Orleans style. Now, my family's business, it was Labella's Catering, Labella's Deli, and then before that, Labella's Super Meat Market. They were famous for their roast beef, still are. And so, I mean, that's pretty much where I learned how to do it. It was either out of a top or a bottom round. So if you're shopping in the grocery store, that's what you want to look for. And that's really the important part about saving money. I was over at the old Flint Twixie the other day, and they have top round for $6.99 a pound. Now, that's crack prices. That's insane. We're not paying that. But it helps when they have the old buy one, get one free sticker on it. That brings it down to $3.50 a pound. That's pretty reasonable. I can do a little bit better than that wholesale, but ultimately, that's a pretty good price because wholesale, you got to buy the whole case, and the stuff that they put out in the grocery stores is usually trimmed. So for $3.50, that's a worthwhile buy. This piece is just under 4 pounds. It's going to put you somewhere around 14 bucks, $14.50 with tax, something like that. Now, the way we get it started is super easy. There's literally 2 ingredients, oil and the top round. I got Big Ugly getting hot over here. I got the oven preheating to 225. So, we're going to get Big Ugly hot and just sear the roast off. That way it maintains its shape through the cooking process. And no salt, no pepper, nothing like that. That's one thing that I remember when I was a kid that my dad told me about why the roast beef po' boys were so popular, is because sometimes when people order a beef item, the first thing they want to taste is beef. So, brown this thing on 2 sides. I think I'm going to give it a go on the 3rd one, but it's starting to stick to the pan. We're getting some really good color out of it. Perfect. Now it's going to finish browning on that 3rd side. What we're going to do right now, we're going to put it in the oven. So we're going to go 225 for 22 minutes a pound. That's going to put us right around 1 hour and 40 minutes. So we'll check back then, see how it works. All right, y'all, timer's up. So, oh, she's pretty. All right, we're going to leave her up there to cool off. And I'm going to put about a pint of cool water, RO water, by the way, right over the top of her. Let her rest just like that for about, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 minutes until it gets, down to closer to room temperature. Then I'm going to wrap it up and put it in the refrigerator. Alright, so while that was cooling off, I went and got a pair of glasses. Don't worry, they don't work. I'm still a dumbass. But we're going to continue our quest to save money and get messy. Our roast is cooled off, and I'm going to show you a little something about how to cut it. But I want to talk to you first about what you're going to use to cut it. And that's actually a 2-part conversation. Number 1, the first option is going to be your sharpest knife. This is mine. This is a 10-inch Miyabi. It's a Japanese knife. It's called the Morimoto edition. This is actually a steal from my grandpa's old meat shop, so it's from the 60s. And I'm going to use this, and as I do in the kitchen, before I cut anything that, a thick-skinned tomato, a cold piece of roast, stuff like that, that I want a good edge, you know, I'm going to use this knife and always pass it on the steel. Now, whenever we sharpen kitchen knives, it's at 22 degrees, okay? So here, bring it out a little bit, that's about 22 degrees. This is the way I sharpen it. You only need about 8 passes per side just to take the rough edges, you know, the little burrs off of the edge of your knife. Now, if you're not, you know, comfortable doing something like that, the beginner way to do it, put the tip of your steel down on the cutting board and 22 degrees. Just take your time. Do it as you know, as slow as you need to do it right. Okay? It's got a nice little edge on it. Now we're going to move the roast to the cutting board out of Big Ugly here. The way we cut this, what we call against the grain. So you're going to look on this piece of roast what direction the muscle fibers are running. Okay? So they're kind of running this way and this way. You want to cut across them. Okay? You don't want to cut it so thin that it goes into crumbles. You want to cut it as thin as you can cut it while still keeping it in a whole piece, but still you want it thin. So we're going to use our left hand as kind of a guide and just go right down there, get the first cuts off, and then keep slicing. All right? Now, I'd like to tell you that I'm going to finish this thing up on a cutting board, cutting it by hand, but I got to be honest with you. If you got the toys, use them. Now, what you're looking at here is a Hobart slicing machine that's easily older than I am. I'm fortunate enough to have inherited it from my family's business. It was part of the original meat shop equipment. But the reason why I'm doing it isn't just so you can see me using a slicing machine. While I'm cutting the meat, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the possibility of getting your own slicing machine. You know, the newer ones, they're usually a bit smaller in the $600 price range. They got a ton of safety features, which this one has none because it's from the 60s. But hey, you know, maybe it's feasible for your household or maybe even your community to get one of these and save yourself some money. I do have to point out how perfectly that beef is roasted. That I am bragging. You know how people say not to brag? I'm bragging. Look at that. It's gorgeous. It is life. Actually, it's death. All right, I'm gonna get the slicing. Now, see if this baby still works. Oh yeah. So I mean, think about maybe in your community, you got a 5-6 household, something like that, and in one of those households you got a retiree, an older lady. Let's call her Myrna. Myrna, she likes bingo, you know. She hems pants, her wall sconces have no dirt on them. Alright? Keep the slicer over at Myrna's house. Myrna slices up your stuff for you, now boom. 6 households aren't waiting in line at that damn deli. Alright. Now again, we're cutting across the grain, and I want to get those cuts that are just thin enough to stay together, because that's going to cook ultra quick in that roast beef gravy. But we're not going to cook it to where it totally falls apart. You're still going to have a little bit of that beef texture in there. And if it gets annoying that I show you every piece, just fast forward it. I'm really proud of what I did. See? Is he going to show the next one? There's no way he's going to show the next one. Boom, there's the next one. All right. I'm going to keep rocking this out. This is my station right now. I'll see y'all back in the kitchen. All right, the roast beef is sliced. I'm ready to babble. We're going to make a roast beef gravy, and I'm going to show you pretty much how I cut up everything in preparation for this meal. But I can tell you right now, the meal is going to be a classic roast beef po' boy with a side of coleslaw. Depending on where you're at in town, that's going to run you somewhere between 10 and 12 bucks a person. We're feeding 3 people tonight. Now we're on track right now to do the same exact thing for 3 people for $9. All right? So here we go. I'm cutting onions. And I feel like every grand once in a while I'm going to go back over this as far as, you know, just how I cut produce. Now, you can get these in a food processor if you don't want to dirty a knife or a cutting board or whatnot, or if your kids don't like the way vegetables look, you can do that if you want. The onions will cook quicker. I'm just going to show you how I like to slice mine up real quick. All right, so we cut the ends off. We peel them, just the outside layer, and I'm just going to go right up the sides with them. As soon as it gets, too thin to hold up like that where it's unstable, lay it down, and finish slicing it. Okay? We're going to do that times all of them. This is going to be a really good, really simple, scratch-made roast beef gravy with nothing more than beef, onions, salt, and pepper. Oh, and we got Big Ugly over here. She should be heating up. We'll start getting her hot. We're going with about 3 tablespoons of canola oil or just any neutral oil. The only reason why I do that is I don't want the entire thing tasting like butter, and I really don't want any other flavors in my roast beef gravy. I'm an Italian boy, and I don't use garlic in my roast beef gravy. I grew up in New Orleans. I will not put Creole spice in my roast beef gravy. Again, like I told you before, the striking thing that stuck with me from when I asked my dad about how he makes his roast beef sandwiches is he said that in a beef dish, sometimes the first thing that people want to eat is beef. So that's how we're going about it. Now that's about 75 cents worth of onions right there, but it's going to be enough to really put a lot of flavor into this dish. So, I'm going to give Big Ugly a little bit more time to heat up. This right here is this beautiful liquid that we got off of cooking the actual roast itself when we cooled it down and kind of deglazed the pan at the end of the cooking process. That was in an earlier video. You can see there's not a whole lot of fat content in here because it was kind of lean. Generally, when we do it in the restaurant, there's a bunch more fat for me to use. There wasn't because, as I explained, these pieces that Flynn Twixie sold were trimmed, so I didn't get that much fat. And that's why I had to use some canola oil. I'm also going to use about the same amount, 3 tablespoons of butter in the recipe. All right? Big Ugly's making noise. She's getting hot. I'm going to get in with these onions. Go ahead, girl. Now, and the reason for all the fat that we're going to put in there is that is what is going to make our roux with our half a cup of just plain old white flour. And this is about a dime's worth of white flour, so we're going to make a good amount of food for a little bit of money. Come on, Big Ugly. This will be some time-lapse stuff.
Don't tilt it. Don't. Yay! It's time-lapse.
Get out. Get out.
It's
Get out.
time-lapse.
Get out. Get out. That's what we're trying to capture. Get out. Get out. Women have no place in the kitchen.
One for the
All right, welcome
brewery.
back, everybody. We sweating onions.
One for the brewery.
Keep them moving. Don't let them brown too much on one side. I mean, it's really, when you're making a roux like this, you got plenty of fat in that pan, so it's tough to burn it, but just, keep an eye on it. If you got a thin pan, this is Big Ugly's she got a thick bottom, so she's not going to burn as easy. But, not everybody has, commercial pans like that. This one costs $9 at a thrift store, so if you ain't got one, get you one. They're cheap. Find one. All right. I'm waiting for these things to cook down. What will I do with all my time? All right. So this is as good as time as any to add the butter. Okay, unsalted butter, no frills. I cut it at a spot where it's measured out to 3 tablespoons. We're going to melt that in there. As soon as she's melted, we're going to start making a roux. Now, I'm going to talk to you for a second about soup bases. Besides the fact that we got some drippings from the roast beef, the way we made it back at the old shop is we would always add some flavor to it with some soup base. Now, there's several different levels of this stuff, all the way up to and including fresh made stock. But this is the one we used, or one like it, for the old recipe. If you're looking to buy a good one, A good rule of thumb is to turn around and look on the ingredients list, and if the first ingredient is roasted beef and beef broth or something to that effect, you're in good shape. If the first ingredient listed is salt, it's probably a less expensive base. I'm not critiquing you for using a less expensive base. You do what you got to do. You might even like it better. I'm not judging. So, but what we're doing, this is one that's from a food service distributor, but it's about equivalent with, I think it's called Better Than Bouillon. It's about $8 for a container like this, and the amount that we're going to put in there is about 50 cents. So, right at 1 tablespoon. Okay, let's put that in there. Then when we add our liquid, we'll kind of swish this tablespoon around to make sure that we get it all. All that butter's melted. We're going in with our half cup of flour, and we're going to break it up on the way in. Yes, you can sift it, and you probably should sift it, but it is what it is. I don't think that's going to get us. I think I might have undershot it a little bit. So I think we're going to go in with another 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons, of just all-purpose white flour. Guys, this is the slow part of it. There's nothing else to say. Turn on a podcast. Keep moving until that roux is as brown as you like it. But, this is the time-consuming part of it. All right, while that's browning, we're going to cut up some stuff to make our po' boys with. I like my po' boys dressed. Some people like them naked. I like them dressed. So, iceberg lettuce. I know, it's the most hated damn lettuce. But I'm going to show you how we do that just because this is the one that we use at the old shop. This is the one we use on the sandwich line. Before everybody got all Romani. Let me show you how we do it. You want to get the hub out of there. Alright? Little spot right here. Here's the easy way we used to do it. Look down. Alright? Get your thumb in there. Pull it right out. That's a wrap. That's all you need to get out of there. Everything else is usable. So, slice straight in half. Anytime you cut anything, you always want to get one part of it to be as flat as possible before you start cutting. Now we're going to just peel away some of those and maybe cut away some of that ugly part. Okay. Now you can do this with a knife, or you can do it on your nice new slicing machine. And that goes the same way for the lettuce, tomatoes, the cabbage for the coleslaw we're going to make. Do it all on the slicing machine. Yep. Tomato. Get rid of the tag. Get rid of that part of the core. Just straight slices. Well, this tomato needs a little help. It's not looking the best it can look. But, fortunately, Creole tomato season is right around the corner. Matter of fact, I saw Becknell's already got some. I might have to get over there. Alright, let's check what Big Ugly's doing. Oh, she is burnt. Now, you might think this is a catastrophe, but it is not. It is not burnt, I assure you, when we deglaze the pan. Now, we just deglazed with our beef drippings. You can see I'm using this tablespoon because it's still got some beef base left in it, and I want to free that stuff up. I'm also going to go in with about half a cup of water. All right, there it is. Now it's got a little bit of a chalky texture to it right now. That's because the roux just got, you know, put together. That flour needs to cook out a little bit more. It's probably going to take, you know, another maybe 5 minutes. We're going to cut it all the way down to low and just let it happen. So, all right, I'm going to go. We're going to make dinner, and we're going to show you some still shots of the feast after. So thanks for sticking with me, and check back for the next video.